So this is the Keychron Q1 Pro, and at first look, you'll probably notice two things. One, it looks pretty much identical to the Q1 V2, and two, the keycaps. These are not the standard keycaps from Keychron. These are from kbdfans, which I'll go over a bit later in this video. And just so you know, Keychron haven't sent me this. This is purchased with my own money, and this is my own honest review of the product. So in this video, we'll take a look at some quick specs of the Q1 Pro, take a look at the insides and what cheap modifications you can do to make the keyboard sound just a little bit better. So the Q1 Pro, if you go for the fully assembled version, it's currently $200 and the bare bones version is $180. You get a USB-C cable, which can be used in wired mode, and also for charging. You can connect up to 3 devices, and just like the Q1 V2, the keyboard is made from CNC machined aluminium, and it still weighs a ton. It has the same typing angle as the Q1 V2, which is 5.2 degrees. It has identical height, width, and depth dimensions. Battery life on the Q1 Pro, Keychron claim with a low RGB light, it can last for about 100 hours, and with no backlight up to 300 hours. And like all Keychron keyboards, you can switch between the Mac and Windows mode. If we take a brief look inside the Q1 Pro, and this is where we start to see a lot of differences compared to the Q1 V2. As you open the back, you'll immediately see a battery cable connected to the PCB. It's a little bit fiddly to disconnect, but it does come off. You'll find a thin foam and sheet, and tucked behind that, a 4000 milliamp battery. To disconnect the PCB completely from the top housing, you'll have to disconnect the toggle controller from the PCB. And to disconnect the wireless sensor or module from the board, you have to gently lift off the connector from the PCB. The polycarbonate plate is not too bad quality, and sandwiched between that and the PCB is another layer of sound absorbing foam. Now, if you're interested in some cheap mods, you may have seen Dave2D's video on the Keychron Q1, and he suggested to apply some PE foam of about 4mm to improve the sound. Now, I couldn't find a single sheet of 4mm, but I did have some packaging from Monitor, and you'll probably find this in all sorts of packaging. It's about, you know what? It's about 1mm thick. I added 5 sheets, cut it to size, and put it just below the PCB board. I also bought some KBD switch pads, not used them before. Let me go grab them. Yeah, I just thought I'll give them a go. It gives a little cushioning between the switch and the board, and they just stick on the PCB. Just be aware that once they're on, they're not that easy to peel off. And here's a sample of what they sound like. Now, because I wanted the ISO version, that means purchasing the bare bones version, which means purchasing your own set of switches and keycaps. The switches I went for are the Gateron white switches, very light activation and quiet. For 90 switches, I think I paid around $35 US on AliExpress. And the keycaps are from kbdfans. Really good quality set of keycaps made from PBT material. Unfortunately, they no longer stock these, and the downside is they're not cheap. I think it was a bit of an impulse buy. But feel free to browse the kbdfans website. This isn't a sponsor in any way. I just find that you'll find some good looking keycaps, hopefully at a reasonable price. Overall typing experience is just like the Q1 V2, no issues with typing angle. Some may need an armrest. I find myself not needing one, but everyone's going to be different. Sound-wise, I think this is going to be very subjective. I think I prefer the red Gateron switches from my Q1 V2 rather than the white Gaterons I have here. But I do like the sound-absorbing mods, less ping and echoey. In terms of Bluetooth connectivity and any issues, just twice so far. Once at the start when pairing, I turned the keyboard off and on again just to test. Then I couldn't connect for some reason and I had to repair again. Then it happened again randomly a few weeks later. Not sure why, but I just had to repair the keyboard again. If you're thinking about how long it takes for the Bluetooth to be connected to the computer, it's pretty quick actually. It takes about 3 seconds for my MacBook to recognize the keyboard, and once it's turned on, you're good to go. Now, if you want to check the battery level on the keyboard, if you hit the FN and B key, B for battery, you'll get an indicator showing how much battery is remaining. Green is good, but I believe as the battery depletes, it will change color. Now I've yet to see the different color changes myself because the battery is still fully charged. Now, if you want to customize the keyboard, you can use the VIA app. Before you had to download the app. Now there's no need. You can just visit the website. It'll recognize your keyboard and you can customize to your heart's content. If you are in wireless mode, it won't recognize the Q1 Pro. You'll have to plug it in for it to be recognized. Now, depending on how you use your keyboard, and I believe this is solely for Mac users, the function keys on the Keychron will act just like a Mac. So hitting F1 and F2 will adjust the brightness, and F7, F8 will pause or skip tracks. Basically all the media keys. If you like it that way, then you're good. If you don't and you want to use the function keys as they are and not as media keys, and use the FN to trigger the media keys, then the solution which I found on Reddit is that you have to remap the function keys on layer 0 on the VIA app back to F1 through to F12. Then on layer 1, map the media keys. It's a bit of a hassle, but you just have to do it the once. And if you want to map any other keys and the VIA app doesn't support it or for some reason, then check out the Carabiner Elements app on the Mac. I'll have a link down below. Overall, the Q1 Pro is great. Now that it's wireless, one less wire on the desktop. The battery life is great so far. I've yet to charge it and it's been more than a month now. If you are on a slight budget and you're not too bothered about wireless, then the Q1 V2 is still a great choice. Better yet, if you want to go even cheaper, there's a Keychron V1 QMK for $75. Now that's a bargain. Not wireless and the housing is plastic. Nothing wrong with that. And you know what? I wish Keychron made a plastic housing for the Q1 Pro. Now that would be the ultimate wireless budget keyboard. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below and I shall see you on the next time. Ciao for now. 1 million why can't I talk? I'm out of breath. So I just ran upstairs.